Okay, we are ready to go.
Good. Okay, I'd like to call the June 2nd Poughkeepsie Joint Water Board meeting to order. First issue on the agenda, public participation. Yes.
So the last meeting minutes said that I was here, and that's one of the few meetings that I've missed. I watched the video, and it's really very disappointing. I mean, I've brought this up a number of times here at town board meetings. There are people who are board members. You went into executive session and you didn't state what it was for. It said you were voting to go into exec session, quote unquote. That was it. There are 8 subjects that you can go into executive session for. Bring us up all the time. You have a lawyer here. That's not a valid reason. And it may not matter to you. I had a water board attorney one time tell me, so what, when I brought this up. I thought things maybe were different with this board, but it doesn't seem to be happening. So if you weren't here and you were watching at home or wherever on the computer, you would have no idea what you went into executive session for. And like I said, you have board members here. You should know. It's not that difficult. You get this little booklet from the Open Government, your right to know. It tells you what the open government laws are. So, and I know there was also a discussion about, Zoom meetings and having people attend in person. And sometimes people just can't make it. And I just want to show you, because there are people who haven't been on, this board for years. This is why I started coming to water board meetings. This is in 2009. So I've been coming for 16 years now. This is what our water looked like. So, people come here, or if they can't come here, they still need to be informed. And they need to know what's going on because it affects them. The decisions you make affect them. So, I really wish you would start to do a better job when it comes to open meetings law, whether it's going into executive session or making sure that documents are posted 24 hours in advance like you're supposed to. So thank you.
Will do. That's my fault. Thank you for pointing that out.
I believe we could amend the minutes to indicate that we went in to discuss personnel matters.
Well, personnel's not a valid reason. It has to be one of these.
Well, we discussed a specific employee. So.
Yep.
Dylan maybe can help us with the language. At the town board, we have a sheet of, with the reasons on it. So when we go into exec session, we can be very clear on which one. But I know we were discussing a matter related to a specific employee. So whatever the language on that is, we can add that to the minutes.
I don't have that. Yeah. And I think we used the right language 2 meetings ago, and then this one, it might have been missed. So.
Yes, I remember.
But it's an extension of the same discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next item, approve the May 5th minutes.
Should we revise the minutes to make that to indicate that change? We were discussing matters related to a specific employee. Dylan, you can help with this language on that.
Yes. Yep.
And then take out.
Yes. Yep.
Great.
And I think the rest of the attendance was correct.
Yes, and I do apologize. I didn't get a copy and paste from previous.
It's very rare, Doreen, that you were here, so you probably erred on the side of, oh, she must have been.
Approve those. We wait till next meeting to approve them.
You can approve them with the.
I make a motion to approve them with the current changes, removing Doreen from the attendance list and correction of the reasoning for executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. That's 4-0 today. Plan status report, Dottie. First day.
Plan status. Yeah, so ultimately the plant is running well, which is great. Our plant effluent flow for May was up by 0.1 million gallons a day. More than April, so we're beginning to get to that time frame where we're expecting more and more production needed. And we were meeting our sorry, turbidity, our turbidity is 10 times lower than salt.
I missed this.
Yeah, I sent that, I apologize, just today. There was transitions. No, that's fine. You'll get these much
Figured I
earlier.
just didn't download it. Don't worry about it.
You'll get them earlier next time around. And we did have a little bit more sludge production, last month. I don't know if you did get a chance to see the river, but it was kind of yucky looking.
Very
all month
brown.
long.
We had so much rain, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, like I said, plant is operating as normal. We did meet with Time Bond, our maintenance staff, as well as Randy, myself, and Al, our senior operator, to discuss the filter under drain project, which the designs are at 60% complete. So we discussed that, talked about some concerns about things that we may have. I'm gonna go back to the manufacturer and discuss some of those issues. For staffing, we did just on Friday interview 3 candidates for the water operator trainee position. All 3 had some form of water license, which was aimed to have, was very rarely getting people with treatment licenses, but these all 3 of them did, which is great, and we'll be making our decision very shortly. So there's that. I did add too that Randy and I were notified by the health department, Hutchinson Health Department, as well as Central Hudson, that they have gotten approval to begin some investigations to begin preliminary design for their remedial project that is happening just south of our intake. Years ago, they wound up trying to dredge that area, and we wound up with contamination from the site here within the plant, and everything has been put on hold. They are now been given approval to basically go out and do some boring to identify where to get another idea of what is actually out there, where it's located, what the severity is, and then they'll be able to come up with another design. They're thinking that some of this is actually going to be capped. But ultimately, I'm working with the DEC and Central Hudson to get them to come to a board meeting so that you can hear about the project.
They were gonna,
Deposits on the bottom of the river, right?
Yes, the deposits on the bottom of the river, that's just underneath the walkway of the Hudson, and
they got coal tar there.
There's a coal tar.
Yeah, and it's deep, and they were, when they did that, they caused problems, and then they came back like 6 or 7 months later, they were gonna do like an air screen or something like that, so they could do their work, but that proved that wasn't gonna keep the area contained. So
Does
it's been
Central
going on for a
Hudson-
Couple years.
Does Central Hudson need to do something in that area,
Yeah.
or, and so they're gonna try to remediate the whole thing?
They're required to do something, they're required to clean it up. So when they began the process, I mean, this has been a project that is,
6 years?
well,
7
even
years?
longer than that, because they did studies of that area, I mean, like decades ago, where they were looking at how much is out there and what their process was going to be to get rid of it. When they began, they got the approval, but they knew that we had an intake up here, but it wasn't really taken into consideration that if there was a release of material that it could affect us here at the water plant. And unfortunately, it did, and we did get some in our intake. It was remediated, we didn't have any issues, it never made it past our cell contacting units. We were able to remove it with pigs, and didn't have any issues as far as that goes. But between the board and Central and the Hudson 7, they were able to put the project on hold until it was, sound, and they could prove that they weren't going to affect us anymore. So
Do you know how they're gonna cap it? Is it cement?
I don't know all the details, and that's why I'd like them to come
Yeah.
and hear from them directly about the project.
They would speak to us?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Good.
trying to
They were,
coordinate.
for a while, they were coming to the meetings and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they knew what they were gonna do, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Didn't we as the,
Stop.
as the town and city, didn't we have that one engineer or someone that was going through their stuff at one point in time? I can't remember the guy's name. We had somebody involved on our end that we were paying to do stuff with that. I
Double
thought.
checking, like.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they were looking at I vaguely remember some of that.
yeah, we had a guy that was,
That was looking into.
yeah, he was,
more
someone that was,
about
yeah, he was,
gonna affect
right,
us.
exactly, yeah.
If there was a release and how that would affect us.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure where that stands, and I could look into it
Yeah.
further, but
So they'll do a whole bunch between that and then such lots of one do their air bubble thing to try to contain it and the whole big thing. And then after that, it all went quiet.
Right, so there were a couple of design theories. At one point, they went out, they were gonna do some sort of curtain and where it was a curtain that would protect the material, but the tide basically tore that curtain apart and it wasn't
Peaceful.
yeah. And then there was another vacuum idea that they were going to investigate, but they did some trials and then they determined that it was going to take ton more money and many more years to actually remediate. Then they came up with the idea of possibly using air bubbles in front of our intake to prevent anything from coming in, but I don't think that ever got through the TPC to move forward with that project. So they've come up with another plan. Most of it is capping and some other types of remediation from some of the shore work. And then, but what they're doing first is over the summer, the late summer, early fall, they'll be going out there to do these borings. And they're going to, it's gonna take about 6 to 8 weeks, and they're gonna be drilling 26 to 34 inch diameter, 26 to 34 6-inch diameter boreholes that will go between 10 to 20 feet below the surface, because they're expecting the contamination to be very deep in certain spots.
When is it from?
Back in the 1800s.
So there used to be a power plant right there.
Yeah.
And they dumped all their stuff right in the river.
Got it.
So it's a very long time.
They did their shore remediation they had to do, of their land stuff, and then they moved to water. That's when everything.
So,
And this is like Onondaga Lake in the 1800s. Onondaga Lake's this teeny tiny lake in Syracuse. It's now a super fun site. And they were dumping about a pound of mercury a day into the water. I can't believe the whole city doesn't have Minamata disease. But they don't eat fish from that lake. And it's a tiny little, it's probably a kettle lake from the glaciers. And there was Allied Chemical, there was, my grandfather worked in the soda ash plant. There was so much stuff around. There was the place that made the traffic lights and chemical plant and the sewage treatment centers on that teeny tiny lake. So it's similar, because that was what the reason I brought it up is that was also in the 1800s.
I think you can finally
Yeah.
swim in it again.
Yeah.
I personally would
wouldn't.
never,
I
but
wouldn't.
you can.
But I also noticed what you wrote about, sheen observer. That's
So-
crazy.
They had that last time too. They had one guy on the walkway.
On the walkway, just
Yep.
looking for film, right?
Mhm.
Oil
Yep.
and tar film.
so what I posted as far as the summary, that was sent directly to me from them, so that's what they wrote as their summary. But I would like them to come to a meeting so that you can hear directly, ask your questions.
That's great, that's great.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
That'd be helpful.
yeah. So,
You want to go to your operating budget? Segue right into it?
Yeah, so we are 41% through the year and then about 31% spent in our budget. So there are a couple of lines that are over, but I think we had some additional training for our operators. That line is more than we anticipated, but I don't think it was also taken out correctly for those appointments. But other than that, we're I think, pretty good. I'm not seeing any issues at the moment.
Filter under drain.
So unfortunately, Erin is at a conference today. She's presenting this afternoon. She told me she was gonna try and jump on through Zoom, but I don't see her here at the moment. But as far as the underpaid and brand replacement zone, we did meet, we did discuss some things. I have to get a better handle myself as far as where the funding is, and I'm not quite sure where we're at. I know Erin has mentioned that she is beyond what that $70,000 initial proposal was, so we're still looking at that.
Has the city approved funding for the filter? There's two here, right? The filter under drain replacement funding and then the comprehensive facility plan, which isn't in our town budget, right? So we've got to figure out where we're paying for our part of that. And I'm wondering what's the city's timeline for approving both of those? Because we were going to put it on this month and this week for this Wednesday night's meeting. And the question arose of where the city is on it, and we wanted to know.
Speak for the comprehensive facility plan, that one, we have to go to resolution 2. Our board should be meeting, if not next week, the week after, so we should be getting approval for that soon.
Okay, so at the next meeting,
Yeah,
which is not tomorrow night, but
correct.
2
Yeah,
weeks from now.
right. Want to say
Third
17th
Tuesdays or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're meeting the 18th, so.
And that's for the comprehensive.
yes, that one I know about.
Okay. So we could try to put it on for the 18th. I just need to talk to the comptroller about where the funding's coming from. And then the filter under drain replacement, is that something the city has already passed?
Thought they did, but
Did
I'll
they?
double check on that, so.
Because we had to do more on that, 'cause we only gave them so much to do,
Like 70,000 and they.
right, and they had to do the
I
remaining.
think this is an addition to what we already paid, and I don't think we've done the addition. We authorized the original, but I don't think we've authorized. So I don't know if we have did you send us a copy of that for the addition?
I think we've done the resolution.
Yeah, those went around after the last meeting.
Okay,
I think that's what you signed at that one. We passed the resolutions, got them signed, so we should be good on that. And I have the form for Aaron. I just need to put in the contract ID for just EFC, because it's just a form basically certifying that all the RFP or RFQ qualifications and everything have been met. So
okay.
Okay, so do you need me to do anything? Are you gonna send that?
I'll send it on to Aaron. The only thing I need is the contract ID, which,
She probably has that.
yeah, because I was looking at everything that Aaron sent through and I couldn't find it on it. There's the T&B ID that was on it, but I think that's different from the ECF contract ID. So I just need to get that and this is good to go.
What's the TSST?
I'll be honest, I made the agenda. That's the TSST tank, our sludge thickener tank.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure we were holding off on that, but
Keep it on there, just so we're aware of it.
yeah.
Okay.
I believe,
Is they're working on, isn't Time Bomb working on that also?
yes, they are.
That's us.
Any other project status? Go to the IMA working group.
So there's not anything to report in addition to what I just reported earlier at the last meeting. We're meeting Friday. So I think the best thing is to have the whole group meet and submit something in writing next time so that we're clear on what recommendations are to the board. So I think that the group as a whole is recommending that this group look at bylaws and some things like that, but we should formalize that and bring it back to the July meeting.
Any old business?
Speaking about bylaws, we did say in the last meeting that we were gonna come up with a date or work for a workshop or something. like
Yep.
that. Do we wanna do that now? Do we wanna wait till after the IMA thing or how?
I think, so if we don't do it now, we're not gonna set another date until July, and then it's gonna push it way off, so I don't mind trying to come up with a date. It's tough, with a lot of people, a lot of stuff going on.
Well, if the IMA reports back in July, then it makes sense to think about all this in August together, but August might not be the month where we're gonna have we need to be at a time when everyone can be here and.
Can we set the date now for a time in July after we hear from IMA? So it could be in the second week of July.
Oh, so you might not do not on the day of a water plant meeting, but another day.
We could do an extended, we know that we're gonna be here. If everybody can stay late, we can do an extended.
Okay, that's fine.
It's in favor of putting things on one day instead
Yeah.
of two separate days if we can.
So that would just be
Okay.
big items.
So on the seventh, we'll just
Yeah.
discuss the bylaws.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's at least have the bylaws in front of us and everyone could read the bylaws in addition to whatever the IMA group recommends. And then that would give us a couple of starting points. Because I think some of the IMA recommendations, if the group confirms what I shared last time, maybe the group won't, but one of the questions was, hey, the board might want to take a look at the bylaws and think about some different ways of doing things on the board. So it would make sense to read those together.
Okay. Any other old business? Any other new business? It's just the world's fastest meeting.
I think this time for Dottie's first day, we have a relatively
Can
straightforward.
I have a motion to
Efficient.
adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Yeah, it's a unanimous. Let's enjoy the day.
Okay. And we know we're gonna be here a while in July.
July. Yep.
So, right? Yep.
Up for it.
Very
Take this time and plunk it on July.